Hello, Saturday. For a change, we've got the gold chart up, a gold Kitco chart for the price of gold on the 3rd of Jan and 4th of Jan dollars, and that's Thursday and Friday. The price of gold came down on Thursday, and halfway through Friday it went up. Now, we don't do gold here really, but I've put it up just to show that there are so many things linked to one particular thing, but many things. So let's leave that behind us and go straight on to the calculated risk Joker chart, which we all know what it is. The coloured string are all the old recessions going back to the Second World War. They start somewhere, they go down, and they get back up again. They recover. But this red one does not recover. And even extrapolation from that red line shows it's not likely to be. Something extraordinary would have to happen for it to get back up to zero, back up to where it started, like all the others have in the past. It just extraordinary is the word, just to show again that this recession is extraordinary. It's technically over in the United States, but it is still extraordinarily going on. So finish with this link to Sober Look, who put this chart in as well. Now, I think this is, I should have really checked. It was either Wednesday or Thursday, and it's a move in the 10-year treasuries. Now, I'll read what it says. The sell-off in treasuries was triggered by the FOMC minutes. Now, that's the Federal Open Market or Open Mouth Committee, trying to be more open about things and putting their minutes out, and so we know what they're thinking, what they're talking about in their committee meeting, with several members targeting the end of 2013 or earlier as the completion or at least slowdown of QE3. According to Barclays, this sell-off was an overreaction. Now, I don't know where this has come from. I've read the minutes, but I don't quite read into it that they are going to be thinking of finishing. A lot of people are now thinking in the summer of 2013, in 6 months' time. They're kicking in at about, because of reinvestment, about $1 trillion a year. So that'd be another 500 billion even in the summer, and it'd be $1 trillion by the end of the year. I personally can't see them stopping in the summer, or even starting to slow down in the summer, or even indicating that they are going to slow down, obviously, unless, Nick goes back to the chart, the Joker chart has got to improve more. There has to be not just this constant slight improvement in US employment rates. There's got to be a bit of a it's really getting better. Now, if we get a it's really getting better, then they could well start mumbling more about starting to stop. But we know the progression of what they have to do in the starting to stop. It's a real super tanker thing that they've got in motion there. So I'll just finish off by saying that we've got things like the price of gold moved down on the Wednesday because of the FOMC meetings minutes coming out, but then moved up on Friday when the unemployment results came out, because they weren't quite good enough, or in a way they weren't quite good enough. If they were really they were at 155, I think. If they were 200,000, or if they were a lot more impressive, then everyone would know that the jump in, unemployment is getting better and better, so the FOMC, the Fed, are likely to start putting the super tanker into neutral, and then thinking of putting it into a stern. But that, obviously, putting it into a stern, knowing it's a super tanker, would take a long time, but then the market would be advanced thinking again ahead of the Fed, knowing that the thing will start slowing. Oh God, this is a mess of a video. Because I wanted to go on to housing and link it to housing as well, but I've missed my opportunity. I've gone on about super tankers too much. So we've got the Fed. We've got this quantitative easing. It doesn't work for the private people. It works for the banking people. We've got austerity. It just gets so complicated. I thought I could do it simply this morning, had it kind of worked out in my head. We've got austerity. The US is doing a reasonable balance between easy monetary policy and relatively easy fiscal policy. The tightening they've done just on this fiscal cliff thing, it's a bit of a jerk, but it's not too bad. They'll still be running $1 trillion deficit. Running $1 trillion deficit, things should be okay, but they're not going to be ball-bouncingly wonderful. The States is not going to be awash with money. But the question I was trying to get to, and haven't got the mental link that I thought I did have, is to housing. There's this horrible thing that's been established now in the minds of the people in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and it's really taking over here in Europe as well. That if your house price, or if house prices are rising, everything is doing fine. It's a really moronic thing, but there it is. If the fiscal, monetary, if the government and central banks can put a block under house prices and then start shifting them upwards, the idea is, and I think it's probably right, a lot of people will start feeling brighter again and start spending again instead of doing the saving again, because they know that they don't know the ins and outs of it, but there'll be more tax going to the government. The government won't have to do so much austerity because more people are being employed, etc., etc. The whole thing will be spiraling upwards instead of spiraling downwards. So we've got the central banks trying, and this is what I hate. I really, because all this talk of if they get the fiscal balance right and the monetary balance right, we can then, but then I go, we can do what? Go back to 10 years ago where we think that as long as house prices are going up, because house prices are going up, that everything's all right, that it means that private people have to borrow huge quantities of money in order to buy the houses. And when they borrow huge quantities of money, that's the money supply increasing. And as long as the money supply is increasing, the people are more likely to pay their debts off. The whole thing is just slap your head nonsense that I'm just in a state of frustration at the moment that people are being given ticks and awards and gold stars for trying to get back to the bad old days. And in a way, it might be better if they didn't succeed and they failed in getting back to the old days and found some new, better days. But how they would get there and what those better days would look like, that's obviously I'm at a loss about. But surely it's not going back to the economy is doing well if house prices are going up. This just can't be right. Anyway, I've waffled on a terrible amount for a Saturday morning. I'll just leave it with you and say goodbye. Bye.